Hello TPS. So a slightly different version of assembly this week because Year 11 are using the main all week in preparation for their exams. So I've recorded this assembly for you, all about the importance of reading. And that's the topic that I'm going to be focusing on in today's assembly. So on the screen, I hope you can see, I've got a picture of a boy looking over a brick wall into a kind of fantasy, exciting landscape. And you can see that the brick wall is quite a depressing scene. It's bare brick, it's covered in graffiti, it's not very attractive. But yet on the other side, the world is much more exciting. We've got fantasy castles, balloons flying through the sky, space rockets, the moon enlarged beyond its normal size, and a whole range of exciting things. And I hope what you're able to see from the video is that what's enabling the boy to look over that barren brick wall into that exciting landscape is books. He is standing on a pile of books. And this is an image that introduces one of the key messages that I'd really like to focus on in today's assembly. And that is that every book will teach you something, or every book can teach you something. So every book you read gives you the opportunity to look over that brick wall of what you currently know and learn something new. So for example, some books that have taught me things. This is Orlando by Virginia Woolf. Virginia Woolf is one of my favourite authors. She was writing in sort of the first half of the 20th century. She was a British female writer, and she was really, really interested in writing books that gave a realistic sense of what it's like to actually have a dialogue in your own head. She knew that the voice that we have in our own head isn't a kind of logical, progressive voice that goes from A to B and is always focused on one thing. It can be quite a chaotic voice, it can be interrupted, thoughts can be unfinished, it can cut from thing to thing very, very quickly. And she came up with a really powerful and engaging way of sort of writing that narrative, which runs through all her novels. What I learned from this book, though, actually, was the word sepulchre. Sepulchre means kind of like a tomb or a monument that a body can be laid in. And I learned that word from this book. So that's one little thing that we can learn, or quite a big thing actually, from reading books, is we can be exposed to new vocabulary and learn new words. We go to War and Peace, famous novel, 19th century Russian novel by Leo Tolstoy, famously long, and it is a really quite expansive, epic novel. I remember reading this at sixth form, and what it gives you, enables you to learn about, is sort of Napoleonic wars from the perspective of from the Russian side at that time. Because it's written in such a sort of expansive way, it's really, really engaging account of that huge part of world history. And I learned a lot of things about Russia and about the Napoleonic Wars, which I only learned from this novel, and I got to experience from this novel. And then Lord of the Rings. This was another quite long novel, or a trilogy of novels, and I read this when I was at secondary school. And I have to admit, the main thing I learned from Lord of the Rings is that I don't really like that kind of book. I know it's got a really big cult following, and apologies if there are any really big Lord of the Rings fans in the audience. But for me, actually, I found it quite ponderous. It follows kind of medieval romance narrative structure, which goes from sort of place to place, and that's because Tolkien was very, very influenced himself by medieval stories and medieval writers. But for me, I sort of learned that I didn't really like that kind of book. And I think that's actually fine. That's something that we can learn from books sometimes. We can learn that they're not really our kind of thing, but we still learn something from them. So to go back to this image, what I'm trying to get across the idea is that books are the vessel that allow us to learn things that we have not experienced before, or have no other way of learning about. Writing, the ability to write, is one of humanity's biggest achievements. It means that we can still engage with ideas that people were having hundreds of years ago, or even thousands of years ago. Thoughts that have been developed over millennia, we can still contribute to and engage with, purely because we are able to read, because people have written them down. And this made me come across the idea that That's the various things that I have not known. So, for example, I've never been to California. I've never lived in the Victorian period. I've never married a prince or indeed anybody. I've never been elected to office. But by reading John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath, in many ways I feel like I have been to California. Steinbeck was another early 20th century writer. He wrote in some 1920s, 1930s, and sets the majority of his novels in California at that time. And he creates a really vivid experience and description of life in rural California at that time. And with reading books like The Grapes of Wrath or Of Mice and Men, I really feel like I can picture California in lots of different ways. I can see the Salinas Mountains. I can imagine the desert, the flora and the fauna that's there. I can imagine the heat that you feel there. So even though I've never been there, I feel that I know a reasonable bit about California and the feel of California from reading Steinbeck's writing. Equally, as I said, I've never lived in the Victorian period, but by reading George Eliot's Middlemarch and other novels from the Victorian period, I feel like in many ways I have experienced some part of what it would have been like to live in the Victorian period. Eliot was particularly inspired by kind of rural scenes in the Victorian period and wrote about rural life, like in cottages and farms, simple kind of pastoral scenes like bringing in the harvest. From reading Middlemarch, I do feel like I can really imagine quite vividly what that was like. And there is no other way for me to access that kind of knowledge. I can't go and live in the Victorian period, I can't go and visit it, but I can, by reading novels written during that period, I can learn a lot about it. As I said, I've never married a prince, but through reading the Brothers Grimm fairy tales, I kind of can imagine a bit what that's like. And in fact, what the fairy tales cover, and I'm sure lots of you have looked at this in your Year 7 English lessons, are some of those kind of really fundamental worries and concerns and themes that run all the way through European literature. Stories like Little Red Riding Hood. So by reading those stories, you can really start to think and engage with lots of those sort of fears and ideas. And as I said earlier, I've never run for elected office. I've never run to be Prime Minister or an MP or anything like that. But by reading The Audacity of Hope by Barack Obama, I feel like I can get an insight into what it feels like to do that. And actually, his even more recent autobiography gives a much clearer sense even of what it's like to be the president and the kind of decisions that you have to make. So even though very few of us are going to kind of get to achieve or even want to experience life as an elected politician, by reading we are really able to kind of have a detailed and long exposure to those feelings and really imagine what it would be like to do that. So all of this together just reminds me again of that point I came up with at the beginning, that we don't know what we do not know, and there's always an opportunity to learn. We are never in a position, I think, to write off a book and think that there's nothing we can gain from it. We don't know what we don't know. We can always learn more from what we read. In fact, it makes me think of the statement from the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates, who famously said, "All I know is that I know nothing." This is called the Socratean paradox, because Socrates was a really well-respected and regarded man of education and philosophy, generally regarded as one of the wisest men in ancient Greece. So he actually knew a lot more than nothing. But what he means by that is that the more he knows, the more educated he becomes, the more he reads, the more he realizes that he doesn't know enough and he wants to know more. And I think when we get into the habit of reading and really go and engage with that process, then we can start to feel similar and always understand that there is a lot to get out of books that we read. And I thought I'd focus on maybe some more modern examples of people who have got a lot out of reading. The first one I'm going to focus on is Steve Jobs, who I'm sure we all know was the founder of Apple and the lead designer for Apple. Came up with lots of innovative new technologies that I'm sure we all know and love, things like the iPad, the iPhone. Well, you might think that someone like Steve Jobs is only going to be interested in really kind of cutting-edge, technical, computery kind of ideas. But actually, he's got a really deep interest in the poetry of William Blake, who was an early English romantic poet writing in the 18th century. And I've got a little extract on the screen from Wired magazine, which links some of Steve Jobs' design skills to what they call his inexhaustible interest in the poetry of William Blake. In fact, it says that his illustrations produced a series of etched plates, an 18th century iPad, if you will. So that in many ways, the kind of ideas that William Blake was exploring were an inspiration for the much more recent technological ideas that Jobs was exploring. Another example, Chris Knight, who's the founder of Nike, the shoe brand, a very, very wealthy man. He's currently estimated to be worth about $40.5 billion from shoes. But one of the main things he spends his money on is books. And in his house, he has collected a library, which ironically, you are not actually allowed to wear your shoes into. He insists that you take your shoes off to go into the library, even though he is actually a shoe billionaire. And this is actually just one example of a current recent trend in very successful and powerful CEOs collecting libraries. And the picture on the right-hand side of the screen is a much more recent photo from an article in the New York Times, which focuses on CEOs collecting their own libraries and sort of building up a bank and a wealth of knowledge in books and really valuing that time. There's a really strong link between people who read and engage with ideas and people who can be really successful. And my final example is Winston Churchill, very, very famous Prime Minister, probably the most famous Prime Minister, and he was recently voted as the greatest Briton of all time. Now, most of us will know him as the Prime Minister throughout the Second World War, but actually he was awarded in 1953 the Nobel Prize for Literature. And this was awarded because of his mastery of historical and biographical prose, and also of his power of oratory, his ability to make speeches, which they said exalted human values. And actually the main way that Churchill supported himself financially throughout the majority of his life was as a writer. So even though he was a very famous politician and Prime Minister, in many ways Churchill was more of a writer than a politician. So I think we're getting towards the idea that reading can make you smarter. We can see on this screen here a series of figures. What this is telling us is how much people reported enjoying reading, from not at all to very much. And what you can see is that the students who enjoy reading very much, about a third of them are achieving above their expected level for their age group. Whereas those who don't enjoy reading at all, about a third of them are below the expected level. So a really strong link between doing well and enjoying reading. And this is why reading regularly is really, really important. We can see here a comparison of 3 students who read for different durations every day. Student A reads for 20 minutes a day. And what that means is that they, over the course of the year, read for 3,600 minutes, and incredibly will achieve reading 1,800,000 words. If you compare that to student C, who reads just for 1 minute a day, they will have only read for 180 minutes by the end of the school year, and only about 8,000 words. Now, if we consider everything we've been thinking about, how every book is an opportunity to learn new things, you can see how many more things student A has had the chance to learn compared to student C. And that's why that really regular habit of reading for about 20 minutes a day is so important, especially for you guys now, whilst you're going through your education. Just another table that shows the same point, really. This is about frequency of reading. So students who read every day at the top, about a third achieving above their expected level, whereas at the bottom, those who are never reading, over a third, are below their expected level. So there's a really strong link, again, between the regularity of reading and how well people do at school. So the key message, I suppose, is if you read often and enjoy reading and read good books, you're going to be smarter, happier, and more successful. And that is why we invest time in reading during the school day through TPS Reads. and why we have increased the number of times we read a week now to 3 times a week in years 7 to 10. Because that will help you on those graphs that I was just talking about in terms of keeping up with your regular reading and help you make progress and to learn more and do better. But of course, that's only part of the story. You should also be reading regularly, independently, at home. And we're very, very keen to reward you for doing that. Hopefully by now you know about our Read More reward scheme, the QR codes that you can scan in the library or other places and record the books you've been reading. We're really keen to get that information and reward you for those efforts. You get eras, certificates, and things like that. So thank you for listening today. I hope that you have taken on board the importance of reading and the many different ways that it can enrich our lives and make us smarter, happier, and more successful. Please do scan those QR codes and read more.